Oh, wow.
Why doesn't it look at the phone?
Because it's the time. Yeah,
You want lights on or off?
could you turn the lights off, Chris? I got it, Philip.
We're Team Gallifrey, and our project was TimeLord. It's a time clock. Our team members was me, I'm Mickey Martin. I did the GUI. I was the team leader, and I also did a lot of troubleshooting and error analysis. This is Chris Whitlock, who did the database and the SQL. This is Gabe, who did printing and sound. The resources we used were Visual Studios 2010, Tortoise SVN, Blend 4, Microsoft Access, that's what we use for our database, and we used the iTech Sharp, which is a third-party DLL used for to make PDFs.
All right, so the research that we had to do was to actually look up how to use the iTech Sharp DLLs. It was kind of complicated. They gave a nice thick user manual, which you had to go through to find certain functionality from it. Third-party websites also help and aid to develop the PDFs. SQL queries we had to research. Chris spent a good 30 hours on one end of dealing with some part of the database stuff, and I spent another 30 hours trying to help him with that. So that was some of the research that we had to do with that. And to extend the sound classes, because we did not know how to actually implement the sounds until we found a particular site that said, here's an easy way of doing it. So that was some of the research that we did. Why did we do it? Well, for one reason, Mickey really hates time clocks. He always said that the time clocks he has worked with are boring and don't really work well, especially for clocking in, clocking out, and making schedules. So, we decided to use a theme-based project, mainly because we wanted to use a WPF format for all of the windows. So we decided, so instead of going with a WinForm look to everything, we decided to say, hey, let's use actual images. Let's think outside the box, pretty much.
Some of the features of the program are the ability to clock in and out. You can add users, terminate users. You can edit punches, view schedules, edit miss punches. And we incorporated some truly interesting sounds. You can also print schedules to PDFs and view hours work for employees. Some of the future work we plan on continuing is the ability to export the time clock once you make a schedule, to export it to Google Calendar so that employees will be able to look at their schedule online. And due to just some of the references we used MSDN a lot, and the iTech Sharp, as Gabe was referring to.
Okay, now we're going to run the program, and I'm going to make a slight comment. Like I said before, our GUI is highly themed, so there may be some things that you don't understand, or maybe some references to some things in it, or maybe you don't know why the pictures are the way they are. If you just ask at the end, it'll be pretty easy to explain. There we go. This is our main screen right here. You got the TimeLord right at the top. I'm going to go ahead and clock somebody in. Best username in the world. No secure password anymore, password. Clock in. It's running off a CD, so.
Security authorization accepted.
There we go. For instance, if somebody was unauthorized, just 3 and.
Oh, that's actually the app.
Yeah.
That's not the background wallpaper in the back. I really thought it was two text boxes floating in the middle of the air.
Oh, it's not?
I'm good now.
No,
Oh,
he
come on,
said-
you know that.
Oh,
You've
it
seen
is.
this before.
No,
No, it's all in the. I'm freaking out right
Do you
now.
let me put a white background behind it?
No. You're good now. You're good now.
Okay. Password and username are incorrect. Go ahead and clocking out real quick, just so I can make sure another feature.
Input received.
Okay, so you clocked out. Let's do it like he's going to lunch now, looking back. Alright, now we have the,
Well played.
we're going over to the admin window to show what I was actually trying to show you. Edit time. Edit time comes up, it's going to ask for an ID and a password. ID, obviously, if you're not an admin, it's not going to allow you to do this. We don't want everybody editing time, but probably type that in wrong.
Security authorization accepted.
Whenever you want to edit somebody's time, you need to figure out the day. Okay. Person, you clock in. There we go. And I can't read that very well, so I'm going to try to. I got it. 24.
A new collection of data has been detected.
Now, once we go back
Thank you, computer.
to view the hours, hour screen is a little bit different depending on who you are. If you're an admin,
Security
if you're an admin,
authorization accepted.
you have the ability to pull the hours worked for the current week for every employee, just like an admin should be able to do, so you can write paychecks and everything. If you were not an admin, the only thing you would get is the date selector and the box that says hours worked week. That way you can only view your hours worked that week. It's not really none of your business who's working what hours. So let's pull the day. And Chris worked 0.18 hours. That's because I was clocking this in and out, and then I edited the time. You noticed that before it was only a minute, so it wouldn't have been near 0.18. Now it is. Next, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Chris, and he's going to show us a few more functions.
I'm going to add an employee, which would be an admin function. And here in this page, I have a lot of text boxes, but there's regex that's checking all these text boxes for validity before I upload them to an actual database. And the new ID is calculated, it actually goes through the database and finds the highest auto-generated, the highest number, and then adds one of that for the ID number. I can't see this, so if someone sees something wrong, I don't know, it's not going to let me enter it if it's wrong stuff.
And if you don't need it to confirm, it's going to take a second to write because we're running off CRW because I cannot pull the message for some reason.
Insufficient data.
Just say cup, is it? Because it must have too many numbers.
Accessing database module.
Good conversation or bad? Okay, good.
A new collection of data has been detected.
I like those the best.
And what was the last name? Mark. Okay, I'm going to terminate that employee. He was. Can anyone see what employee number he was? 13? 13?
Randomly pick a number.
Use one. And if it's not right, it won't let it do it.
And we ask for the last name and employee ID, just so that you don't accidentally delete employees that you're not meaning to terminate. That went through. And I'm going to turn this over to Gabe so he can show you some additional functions.
All right, so the next set of functionality that we implemented was the ability to make and view schedules along with printing the schedule. So we're going to go back to the admin bar. We're going to go to make schedule. And once that's up, we're going to select a date. So I'm going to select, today's date's fine. Now I'm going to select a person. I'll select myself. And let's say Wednesday. We'll do 2 o'clock in the morning to 12 later that day. Then we'll do Friday. 12 to
A new collection of data has been detected.
and that'll actually write it to the database itself. So when I go to the make schedule, well, I mean to the view schedule. Alright, I'm going to pick today's, and I'm going to pull up mine. And you see exactly today, and well, tomorrow and Friday. So that'll be that. And then what you can do is you can actually print. And here's one of the pieces that's kind of interesting about this print function. Is that it only prints who's scheduled to work for that week. So no matter what day you are inside of that week, for that date picker, it'll print out who's working that week. It'll give the days that they work, the time in, the time out, hours per day, and the total hours per week. So one of the examples that we do have, let's run this back to January. And you see in January I'm only working Saturday. Yeah. And for example, Chris is scheduled for the most of the time, and I'm scheduled for only negative 10 hours. I guess I took vacation. But that right here pulls from the database. It goes from each person's line, and then it runs through a second loop in order to find each time in and time out. And then once that's complete, it goes to the next person. And once we're done with that, we go straight back to the TARDIS. One of the other pieces that we have is the public call, and that actually brings up the About Us and Help. Vicki?
About us again, it says what Chris, me, and Gabe did. It also tells you some of the little secret things. This little bitty thing that you can't really see too well, it's actually the key of the TARDIS. Again, it's part of that little theme thing that we tell you about, that some of the things are a little odd, but this very thing, that's the TARDIS key. It always brings you back to the TARDIS. Next, you can't really read that because the screen isn't too well. But on the outside of the TARDIS, it says public call, and that's the little flyer that's in there. When you click that, that's where the admin tools are. The admin tools are actually hidden behind that, so that way that most employees won't know where it's at because there's no actual button for it. The admins will. You read on, it says that pressing Alt at any time brings up the option menu to turn all sounds and animations off, because sounds and animations can get annoying if you're using this program every day. And there's only one way to exit this program. Is this one red X right there. We didn't want X's everywhere. We wanted one central X because this is a time clock program, so most places where you work at, you never actually close out of the time clock. It's always up, it's always running because people are clocking in and out, leaving in and out. Some of the things we didn't show you about making schedule is, let's just say I want to put pick a day, pick a person, and for time, he's going to work this. I don't even know what. It automatically tells you all times must be formatted in military format and formatted hour, colon, MM, which would be minute. It's a standard thing of time. If we go back to edit time, one thing I didn't show you, the same thing applies to the edit times, except for the fact that if you put something in wrong, it refills it. That way you won't lose the time that the person actually clocked in or out in case you make an error while you're trying to type it in. And if you want to turn the animation off,
Acknowledge.
turn this off, turn the sound off. No animation. I like the animation sound. I like things that beep and move. This time we turn it over to y'all for questions. We only have 20 minutes left. What's up?
I like where y'all went with it from midterm. Y'all did a lot of work. It's really, really good. Y'all had a lot of verification, a lot of different stuff to keep from errors, and I like the whole theme thing more than I did at midterm. You know, I completely understand it now. The only thing for like reason for improvement or something to do better next time is on the adding users. When you put in an ID and stuff like that, you could take that out potentially and just get your database to auto increment it in the future, because that's, I guess, standard practice. And that'll do that for you. And that'll also help you when you go to terminate. You could just make like a drop-down box of the names in there, you know.
We use auto numbers in some of our stuff. We were just testing like different ways of doing things, and that was just one of the ways we were testing. It wasn't a preference, it was just one of the ways we tested.
Okay.
What would happen if you went to the time schedule to schedule somebody for the week, and you had them start at like 2 o'clock, but then you had the end time at 1 a.m.? What would happen?
For the next day?
Oh, for that same day. If you put 2 a.m. as the start time and 1 a.m. in the inbox.
Actually, you already saw that.
Oh, put the negative.
Yeah, right now it's not checking for that, but I mean, that would be an easy fix to make sure
Because-
the ladder's greater than the first.
The way we did it is selecting a date actually calls a function in there that actually finds the beginning of that week. So you can select any day in the week, it'll find the beginning of the week, and then start grouping the things. So Sunday will have the beginning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the function goes on and adds. That way when it forces the times that you push in and the date, it makes a complete date time, which is something Visual Studios recognizes. So the reason it does that is if you put that in there in such a way, it forces the same date time on it because you put them both on Sunday.
Any other questions?
I think Chet had something. I saw it.
Oh, the only question I had was if the ID field was editable.
No, that's not at all.
Okay.
You have no choice.
One more thing I just thought of, and I always do that like twice, but the only thing that slightly annoyed me, which completely made me turn around and not be annoyed at all, was the animations. I was like, okay, those might get annoying if I'm like an employer and I do that for like weeks and weeks, it'd be too slow. But then whenever you went and you showed that you were a boss and you could uncheck it and check it, then I was like, okay, well. Yeah, that was a compliment. I don't know why I just ended with that.
If you've ever watched Doctor Who, anything that he touches inside the TARDIS makes random noises. And they're not always the same, and there's no theme to it whatsoever. That's why ours turns noises. Like I said, it's highly themed. That's why public call is in blue, because you call for help. Help is usually, blue's usually a sign for help, so that's why when you click on that, that's where the help comes from. All of it's explained in the user manual too.
Any other questions?
What things didn't you get accomplished?
Well, we got the time clock in and out function accomplished. That was one of our main goals. And the
What didn't you?
oh, what didn't we? I'm sorry. Really, we accomplished the majority of our functions that we wanted to implement. I think we actually added a few functionalities like the PDF printer, the sound as bonuses. But otherwise than that, we did accomplish what we were intending to do. I mean, there are a few things that we could have done to prepare, like the push to Google calendars, but that will be in future updates.
We didn't get enough of the debugging that we planned on getting. I mean, there's some validation rules that we would like to put in, and error check and just stuff like that. But I mean, the majority of the stuff we set out to do, we did get implemented.
How'd you guys come across iTech Sharp?
It was actually one of the other teams. They mentioned it first in one of their prototypes. So we were like, that's a good idea. So it was probably the easiest way to actually push a schedule file out instead of just using regular text files.